So we've got a little bit of an issue, right? And there's some news that's just come out. I'm sure everyone is aware of the tariffs, the so-called Trump tariffs. And so if anyone hasn't watched it, the Liberation Day nonsense. So yeah, he puts these tariffs on, and the reasons for that are just really stupid, but also kind of nefarious. But are they going to work is beyond the scope of this video. But really, so this is, what does that have to do with photography? Obviously, yeah, there's going to be tariffs on photographic equipment. Watching the actual announcement of the tariffs, he's got like this 90s timeshare presentation of the actual tariffs, and then the percentages of, well, what people thought were going to be the percentages of the tariffs when they first looked at it. But no, it was just like some nonsense calculation of the trade deficit. So there were people like, what, 38%? What are you talking about? Then he comes out and says that there's a 10% across the board tariff against everybody. Tariff war, which was already underway, is now, super double underway. Those of us that kind of follow the photographic tea or the world, we kind of, especially those of us that shoot or just love older gear and also shoot a lot of film, we're always like trying to look for deals. We kind of look to see what's kind of around the corner a little bit, because financially this is a pretty tough hobby for those of us that do it as a hobby. People that are doing this professionally, good luck. So at the very least, prices, or rather the tax on photographic equipment, is going to be increased by at least 10%. And then that's not counting like the individual tariffs on camera equipment. And most of our camera equipment, is made in Japan or China or Malaysia, or I think they're doing more in Vietnam now. And it's not just like the entire camera or whatever, it's different components, right? So even if they want to assemble stuff here, like, oh, we're going to start an American camera company, like, no one's going to do that. No one's stupid enough to look at a market that's once again dying and be like, yeah, I'm going to pour hundreds of millions of dollars into this, and then I'm going to, get my massive surplus that I'm going to extract from the people that are actually going to build this stuff. Now, the people that can build this stuff are not in America. Someone from Japan or China is going to come in here and be like, yeah, I'm going to build a camera company. No, that's not going to happen either. The camera industry, the mirrorless, the DSLRs and point and shoots and the compact stuff, it was all dying. And then post-COVID, there was a slight recovery. And then recently with companies like Fujifilm and the success of the X100, we were getting some cool new stuff, right? Homeboy's just like gone home to play golf. And he's like, I don't care. I'm going to do what I want. Disappearing people is a little bit worse than disappearing cameras. So it's not just digital cameras that are going to be hit, right? If you follow any of the news coming out of China, I think Light Lens Lab and Lucky Film, or maybe it's both of them together. I read this a while ago. They had put out a new T-grain, or rather they were finishing testing it, a new T-grain black and white film. And they were talking about doing color film, C41, and also E6, so slide film. And they're like, yeah, we're going to do peel apart film, and we're going to do slide film and color negative in the future. And the T-grain film looked really good. The samples that I saw looked legitimately good, and didn't have an anti-aliasing layer, which was, I think, the final thing they were working on. But the samples looked good. They did. And that's not going to be exempt, because he's got additional tariffs on China, because he's chosen, he hates the Chinese. Dude just hates everyone. Whether you like digital cameras or film cameras, and like I said, a little bit of the revival that we had from Fujifilm, and then Fuji also put out, or rather making the Eterna medium format dedicated video or cinema camera, you know, how much more is that stuff gonna cost? Black Magic just, I don't know where they make their stuff, but Black Magic is got the Pixies 12 Pixis, whatever, the 12K camera. You know, there's some really good affordable stuff out there, and you know, Nikon's got the Z6 III internal 12-bit raw video, you know, internal log, internal ProRes, and all this stuff. It's a great time for the dedicated like photography and videography gear. And then, you know, our budgets and are being cut, right? Wages suck, and the hobby is shrinking. The professional field is shrinking, and then AI was going to be like the death blow. But then turns out, you know, Fujifilm is still selling a decent amount of cameras, and you know, people are getting into analog film photography more. So things were looking like they might stabilize or even get better. And then, you know, this hits. Yeah. I mean, hopefully this is not as big a disaster as it seems like at this point. You know, reactions are what they are. We are inherently reactionary in the U.S. That's really all we do. We're reactionary. We don't look at the material reality of things and make plans or, you know, come up with solutions or proper thought out retorts. It's all just reactions, which is really what this also is. But the big boy is saying that it's permanent, and you know, it kind of makes sense. The last round of tax cuts that he did for the super rich are expiring 2025. Either they have or they're about to. He's not going to raise taxes on those people again. It looks like he's using tariffs. He says one day, you know, it's a bargaining tool, and then he'll cut deals, which is a stupid move anyway. And then the next day he says the tariffs are permanent. It is what it is with this guy. And one thing he does at least is like let you know that like from the beginning you're in for a wild ride, and like, yeah, he's gonna screw you one way or the other. So at least, you know, he is an honest grifter. But yeah, this has been a shit show for a long time. So is it gonna be 10%? Is it gonna be more? Is it gonna be possibly none? I don't know. But the more I read about what this admin's actually doing, the more I'm like, yo, these guys they're really just looking to shift the tax burden onto the little guy. And unfortunately, it's going to have a terrible effect on film and digital photography. Now, that said, there's a bunch of really good used gear on the market. You know, the GH6 is awesome. Fuji's older cameras are just stellar. Panasonic, the S1, the S5 are dirt cheap. They're great. You know, the used market's pretty good. But if you're someone that likes newer gear or you really like film, the price of film is going to go up. Anything that's not made by Kodak also, yeah, it's going to go up. And Ilford, those prices are going to go up at least 10%. It's a tax, and you're paying it. You want to shoot film? Yeah, it looks like for now at least you're going to pay at least 10% more. It's already $9 to $10 a roll, just black and white. I'm glad I have a freezer full of film. You know, I can ride this out for another year. If I stretch it, 2 years. And I've got a couple of digital cameras, old cheap stuff like the Panasonic S1. I've got cheap film cameras. I'll be all right, but I feel really bad for younger people right now that are looking for their first dedicated digital camera, that want to learn photography, that don't want to mess with AI, because, man, AI is a pain in the ass. It sucks. It's boring. It's low effort. It's such a depreciating activity, you know, just like, why am I doing this? I'm just going to fucking type and you be outside. You know, you can be outside doing something you love or exploring places, going for a hike, documenting it on film, you know, or digital, and editing, you know, you practice a craft. And, oh man, this is just like another death blow to creatives, not just in America, but in the world. You know, we're just being just pushed out of any place, professional, hobby, content creation. Yeah, it's gonna suck for the next however many years we're gonna be on this ride for. Yeah, but you know what? It can always be worse. So we'll see. Hopefully, we're all still around in a few years.